Hey, welcome to worshiptutorials.com. In this video, Fuller is going to take us through a product offering that is relevant for many of us as worship leaders. How you're running multi-tracks at your church.
Yeah, and it's one of these things that for years I've always wondered. I wonder how this is. I've seen it advertised, I've seen it, but I've never used it. And I'm like, I don't think I need that.
Yeah.
And then the guys at Loop Community sent me this. And I was like, yeah, I need this. So I did a review on these two products. One that's been around forever, the Looptimus.
Yeah.
Most of you know what the Looptimus is. A lot of y'all are. Honestly, I'm late to the party. Admittedly, I'm late.
I've never been invited to the party.
I'm late to the party on the Looptimus. But it's a great tool. A lot of you are already using that. But there's a new product that Loop Community has called the TrackRig.
Yeah.
And that is what I was really interested in trying because, one of the biggest problems we have as worship leaders who are running multi-tracks, a lot of them are just doing left and right, like stereo. Yes. And that's like not an efficient way to do it. You got the click and cues on the left and then everything else on one mono channel.
Pre-mix it,
yeah, so there's a lot of worship leaders going, hey, what's a solution for some sort of multi audio breakout box? And that's where this product comes in. And Loop Community's done a really good job of identifying the problem that worship leaders have and then offering a solution. So that's what I'm going to walk through today on this review video. So for the first product, we're going to talk about the TrackRig, and this is a fantastic little device from Loop Community. What is the TrackRig? Well, the TrackRig is built for the worship leader or the music director or the musician that's in a band that uses tracks live, and it's built to solve one problem. And that problem is a lot of us use multi-tracks, and we've been using multi-tracks from our laptops, and we've been running it out the headphone jack. And as you know, the headphone jack only gives you stereo outputs left and right. So with a stereo output, which a lot of us have been using, you put all of your music on one channel and you're clicking your cues on the other channel. So the front of house guy is basically getting a really oversaturated mono channel that has a bunch of stuff on it that gives the sound person very little control and is often very frustrating as musicians and as a mixing engineer. So what the TrackRig was designed to do was to solve that problem. How can we send multiple channels of audio to our front of house guy, to our soundboard, so that we have more control over them? So the cool thing about the TrackRig, it's everything you need in 8 XLR outs, easy to use, no direct boxes or anything like that. You just hook it up to your computer, it recognizes, and then you hook each channel of the audio into your front of house board. Now when I was using it at my church, I put this in the rack. We use the Waves LV1 grid, so I put this right in the rack, and then I came out right into the Waves stage box, routed it to the front of house, and boom, there it was, 8 separate tracks. So one of the things we don't need as worship leaders is a bunch of complicated things. So what the guys at Loop Community wanted to do is they wanted to solve this problem as simply as possible. Okay, so the way the TrackRig is designed, it's very simple. On the back, we have a USB out, and we have a power supply. Turn that on. Hook up the USB here, hook the other cable up to your laptop, and open up your DAW. A lot of you use Ableton. I personally like to use Logic Pro. It's just something that I like to use for my click tracks. And what's cool is when you open up your DAW and you go into your preferences, there it is. TrackRig recognizes automatically 8 channels of audio, very easy to use. Matter of fact, the first weekend I ever used this, I wasn't planning on using it, but the sound device that I was using at the time fritzed out on me. And so I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm using the TrackRig. I literally turned it on, plugged it into Logic Pro, and there it was. And I was like, check off of ease of use. It's just designed to plug and play. You plug it in, you get 8 audio outs, really easy to use. All you have to do is go in your DAW and assign those outputs, and you're up and running. So what we did is we used track 1 for click, which was the metronome, and then track 2 we used for the cues, the the guide track, chorus, verse, all that stuff. Because actually it's kind of take it for granted, but it's really nice as a musician to have the click and the cues on separate tracks, because then, you know, sometimes you want to hear the cues more, sometimes you want to hear the cues less. Really cool. Then I did 3 and 4. I did all of the drums and percussion and all the low end kind of stuff, beats, which is mainly what we use. And then 5 and 6, I ran some pads and some keys, just some B3. And then 7 and 8, you can use as auxiliary if you want to throw some other stuff in. But right now we're kind of keeping it simple. We just did click, cues, and percussion. And so for those of you who use more stuff, you can kind of group them in. That way the front of house guy has separate mixes. And you know, you might want to send the track 3 and 4 to the subs and get that low end punch. And maybe 5 and 6 you wanted to just kind of keep in the mains. You don't need all the low end information. So pretty cool to be able to do that. And what else is cool is that it gives your musicians the ability to kind of mix things differently. So our drummer might want more of the percussion loops in his ears, so he's able to isolate those tracks, which is really cool. I'm going to show you how to hook this up in your DAW in a second here. So Logic is open. Let's open a new project, and I'm going to add an audio track. Now, in Logic, if you go up here to Preferences, Audio, you're going to see right here it's selected to my universal audio because that's what I've been using, but we're going to go down here, and if you go here, you'll see Loop Community TrackRig. So Logic has recognized this device, and I'm simply selecting that. Don't need any input, so I'll just select that to none. So now when I hit apply, the TrackRig is now my output device. Okay, so I've got a click track session open here, and as you can see, I've already got the markers. These markers I have put in Logic to notate where each song begins. Okay, so this is the first song here. We started the set with Holy Spirit. And now if you look here, I can click on this track, and then let's see here, this is the click track. So I'm going to click on this, and then I can go here to output, and I can simply select output, mono output, because this is a mono channel. And then as you can see here, I have the 8 tracks to select of the TrackRig. So I'm going to send click out output 1. I'm going to go here to my cues. I'm going to select this output, also mono output to output 2. I've got a string track in here. I'm going to send this to 3. Let's send this to 5 and 6. And I'm not going to use the guitar track. So I'm just going to delete that. And so now, and then I have a bass track. I think this particular weekend our bass player wasn't able to make it to rehearsal because of COVID. So I added the bass track. So you know what? I'll just send this out, output 3, which will be mono output 3. Okay, so now when I go in and I hit play, you can see the TrackRig is actually bouncing up and down. Another cool thing, kind of overlooked it at the beginning, but the TrackRig has 4 USB outs, which is actually really convenient, because what I did was I was able, once I hooked my computer up there, I actually hooked up my Looptimus right to the TrackRig, so I didn't need another USB port on my computer. And I also hooked my iPhone charger, I hooked my iPhone up to there because it charges it. So I was charging my iPhone while we were practicing. Probably not recommended, because sometimes you hook an Apple device up to another Apple and it opens up a bunch of software. But it worked for me. My phone was about to die, and it worked. Another little cool feature, if you get the rack ears for the TrackRig, you can actually rack it in front like this, or you can rack it in the back so your USB ports are facing out and your XLRs are going to the back of the rack. Pretty cool. It's a super lightweight, easy to use audio device. There are these cool LEDs on the front that show you when signal's coming through, which is really neat. So that concludes my review of the TrackRig. Again, it's a great device, super simple to solve your problem of how can I get multiple channels of audio to the front of house guy. Super easy, super fast with 0 complication. This is the solution that Loop Community has designed for that. Highly recommend this piece of gear, and you can go to loopcommunity.com to check it out, learn more information about it, and get yourself one today. So the other product I want to talk about, with a lot of you have already been using, is the Looptimus. Now, one of the things I like about the Looptimus, it is built like a tank. This thing weighs a lot. It is metal. The foot buttons are metal. There's a durable red LED display on it, so you can kind of tell what buttons you're hitting. power supply, bus powered, which is really cool because, you know, if you keep this in the front of stage, you don't want another power supply out there. 5-pin MIDI, and then some auxiliary quarter-inch inputs to add a Looptimus Mini or a volume pedal or whatever you want to do. So basically what the Looptimus is, it's a MIDI control device that has 8 foot switches that you can crush live, super durable, and it sends MIDI commands, MIDI notes, MIDI controls to your DAW or whatever device you have it hooked up to. You could have it hooked up to main stage. You could use it as a sustain pedal, whatever you want to do, change your patches. It does anything a MIDI controller can do. What I use it for is to control my multitracks. I hook it up to Logic Pro, and then I assign markers to the foot switches, and I'm off and running. I can start and stop clicks. I can go to the next click live on the fly. Really cool, easy to use, easy to set up. I hook this up to the TrackRig, makes it really easy to use and not complicated at all. Cool feature about the Looptimus, in addition to sending MIDI commands, it also has 3 different modes. So the first mode is MIDI notes. You can actually, you have 20 banks of 6 MIDI notes. So you have 120 MIDI notes that you can send. And so you could actually use this, you can use this to trigger MIDI notes, MIDI music, or you can use it in your DAW to assign functions via MIDI notes. The second mode is the program change mode, which you can assign each button to send a MIDI program change. So you can program your MIDI devices, your keyboard, your effects pedal to trigger certain patches through MIDI program changes. The third mode, which is really cool, is the pad mode, and you can check more on this at the Loop community website. But basically what it allows you to do is that you select the key that you want, and then each of the 6 buttons trigger a root and a fifth in that key. So if I select the key of C, when I hold down the 1 button, it will play a C and a G simultaneously, and you can use that in your DAW to trigger any sound you want, whether it be a pad sound or an organ sound or whatever. It's really cool. And then you can go the minor 2, the minor 3, the 4, the 5, or the 6. And they don't have the 7 because nobody really uses the 7. So usually you're going to be using the 1, the 4, and the 5. So you can actually see how the buttons are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So kind of a cool feature if you want flexibility on the fly and you just want to trigger these pads. Really neat. What I use the Looptimus for is I use it to simply control, start and stop my click tracks live, and then also allow me to select. Now we only do 4 songs, so I usually only use 4, but what I do in Logic is I assign each button to a marker, and at any point in the set I can jump right to the beginning of that song, start and stop the click. Really cool feature, and I'll show you how to do that in depth here in a second. We're here in Logic, as you can see. So what I did is, when I opened up my click track session, you'll see here, I have a marker here in Logic. You can just go here and you can add markers. So I've added markers to each of these click sessions. So at any point in time, I can jump to a marker by using the Looptimus. So here's what I did. So I like to keep it simple on Sunday. So I just use bank 1. That's all I use. I use bank 1. And A, B, C, and D are tracks 1, 2, 3, and 4. If I have a 5th track, it'll be E. If I have a 6th track, it'll be F. If I have more tracks than that, which I never do, but if I did, I could just bank up to the next program and use those. So here's what I do. So in Logic, it's really simple. So if you go into the Logic key command menu and you go under Edit, this is going to open up your key commands. And then I do a quick search for go to marker, and then it shows you all of the things in Logic you can assign. So you could put up to 20 markers in here. So for me, each song is a marker. So what I want to do now is I want to assign the markers to work with my Looptimus. I'm going to go here, I'm going to go New Assignment, okay? And I'm just going to simply press that. And then it's recorded that as C#-2. I'm going to go here to marker 2. I'm going to go Learn New Assignment. I'm going to press that, and I'm going to continue this process, learn new assignment, marker 4, learn new assignment, marker 5, learn new assignment, and I'll go ahead and just do 6 in case I ever need it, learn new assignment. So now what I've done is I've assigned these keys to Logic to tell Logic every time I press this button on the Looptimus, it's going to jump to a different song. So as you can see here, I'm going to press A, 1A is track 1, 1B is track 2, track 3, etc., track 4. So now I can jump to a song just by pressing the song I want. So now I'm going to assign the stop button in Logic to toggle the play button. So I'm going to type the word stop, and in Logic I'll see that this is the command I want to control right here, play or stop. That's a toggle. If you hit it once, it plays it. If you hit it again, it stops it, etc. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go learn new assignment. I'm going to simply press this button, and then there it is, which happens to be channel 1, note G8. Okay? So now I am good to go. When I go back to Logic, you'll see that when I hit the stop mode button, it starts it, and it stops it, and it starts it, and it stops it, and it starts it, and it stops it. So if I want to go to track 2, I simply hit start, and there we go. Now we're rolling. If the band gets off or something tragic like that, I'll just stop it, and that's fine. If I want to go back, maybe we're running through stuff and we're just rehearsing. So maybe I want to go to song 3. This past week was praises for us. When we're ready, I hit start, and we're up and running. Stop that, boom, jump to track 4, easy to do. Go back to the first song, whatever you want to do. So this is just a real basic way to use the Looptimus. It's all I need. It's perfect, and I'm in total control, really easy to use. So that wraps up our videos today for the TrackRig and the Looptimus pedal. Thank you to the team over at Loop Community for sending us this product. It was really cool to check it out and use it. Certainly made my life easier as a worship leader, and I hope that it makes your life easier as well. If you want more information, you can head over to loopcommunity.com, check out these products and some of the other things they offer as well.